explorations in these areas. Currently, we are on a ship carrying several different equipments, and we are also carrying several different 5,000 water birds responsible for the balancing of these signals. In order to keep the signals normal, every day we need to maintain the signals. Today I'm going to follow the special ship to replace some of the cupboards in the sea. In order to make today's experience more professional, I have invited one of the distinguished guests with me today. So, Mr. Zhu Jianjun, please say hello to our viewers. Dear viewers with CMJs, I am the general manager of the the Maritime Petroleum Shipment 702. Today I'm going to tour you around with some of the small maintenance equipment. I'm going to be a maintenance engineer today, so we think that all of us are well equipped. So usually what do we wear during this mission? There are usually 4 members of our team. The first one is Mr. Ting, who is going to conduct a security check with all of our team members. Mr. Ting, could you give us some of the trainings about the security checks? Generally speaking, today we are responsible for the replacement of the engine part. We have 4 members in the team later on. So Mr. Lin Qiang is going to be responsible for the front hook. And you will be responsible for the high-level nurturing and also maintenance work. Other people is going to keep an eye on the top deck of the ship. And we are going to have some of the colleagues together with you. After the introductions of the work, so what do we do later? Before we depart the ship, all of us need to went through a security check, and also we need to bend ourselves in order to get into the ship. If there are some other informations that you are being able to get out of this ship, we are going to follow the signals, and each one of the steps needs to be guided by the professionals in our ship. So should I wear some of the professional PPEs? I think all of you are well equipped. The major protection equipment is a security-related equipment. So I'm going to wear this life rescuer clothes on. And also pack it up. So what is this? Could you introduce us? This is V2B, responsible for life savings. And if there is incident occurred on the vast sea, the clothes is going to be responsible for floating you on the surface. And you can also pull the strings on the clothes in order to pump the air back out. This is alarm signaling signals. If there is something occurred to you, you are going to pull the string back, and the bar is going to pop out. And after that, they are going to send the signals to GPSs across the world. It is like the positioning equipment. With the personal protection equipments, as well as the life rescuing coat, I think that I am double guarded to be on the ship. So all of these PPEs should be well equipped on each members of the team. I think I'm actually more prone to the I'm actually closing the work as one of the maintenance engineers.
对，挂上的话，这样就是一个绳索保险作用，然后我再给你，对，再踹到这个钩上。好的，比较紧啊。
我觉得今天还是第一次把这个工服上的这小口袋都用上。
对，所有的功能都发挥出来了。
I've been wearing this maintenance PPEs for several days, and this is the first time I'm actually wearing this signal sending equipment. It's the time we get into the sea. Before we get into the sea, just as Mr. Ting has mentioned, we need to goes back somehow to some of the submersive equipment. Have already told me that this time's mission is to replace the water bird on the cables as well as doing some of the maintenance work in the floating bars, because all of these floating bars is being dragged under the water, and sometimes if there are some of the replacement of the chains, they are quite variable under the waves of the oceans. So for all of us, we are always doing some of the checking and the maintenance work of these chains. So how often do you do this maintenance work or the checking and monitoring work? We have a lot of equipment. I believe that there is also some of the requirement to the waves, and if the wave is above 2 meters, we might not be able to do the maintenance work. The work itself does not require, it does not have a quite high requirement. We place these 2 water birds on the surface. But we prepared, we are only using one, and the other one works as a backup plan. Let me give you an introduction for this piece of the equipment. We usually call it water bird. It is just like the vertical helices, giving the directions to the cables and pointing out under which surface these cables can give us some of the simulation signal sending process. How can such an independent cable and equipment being applied and also sending signals to the headquarters? I think you have equipment to something here now. No, it's not here. So here we have a circuit, and through the circuit here, with its electromagnetic reactions with the circuits on the cables, the water bird is going to send us the balancing signals. The water bird is also going to have a feeling toward the signals. They also should have an understanding about the depths of the water. And here we have a small hole, letting us to understand the pressures on the sea. With the different pressures on the sea, we are going to understand where the cable is. So no wonder we would say that the water bird itself is one of the major reasons behind it once we place it on the cable. Whether we move it upward or downward, once we fill the water inside, we are going to use this hook to be hanged on the cable. These 2 hooks are designed to put the water bird, hinges the water bird on the cables. I think we have a quite clear picture of what we are going to replace today. And we are going to replace one with one backup, guaranteeing the mission could be fulfilled within time. So could you tell us what we do using this red box? You're going to see that these water cables hinges are quite easy to plug off. But if there are some of the sea life attached to it, or there are some of the currents on the surface of it, we are going to go to the deep seas and replace these circuits. So we bring some of the relevant equipment for the maintenance. I think I could say that we are very well prepared for the maintenance work as well as the replacement of the water bird. Are we ready? Yes. I can't wait to go under seas and have a check about the work of the maintenance workers. So we are about to put in our feet into this small ship, and I could see that there are some of these areas, there are some of the bands hanging in the sky. We have put it into the deck. During our work, we are going to put it at the forefront. By unleashing all of these hooks, we can actually pull it in the water and stretch it. If we are not using it, we can actually wrap it up here. This is a very small ship, especially compared with our 720 shipment. So why do we equip such a small lifeboat size boat to such a huge ship? How should I put it? First and foremost, we don't have enough room or space on this huge ship. But I believe the small ship or the lifeboat have its own flexibility. So there must be some of the rooms for the supplement. Okay, actually the smaller the better, but even if it is quite small, it should be equipped with all kinds of functions. So what is the size of this equipment? It is a lifeboat with a diameter of 30 inches. And also the width is 3.3 meters, with 1.1 underwater levels, as well as capable of carrying 12 passengers. So how about its speed? To its maximum, it can be reaching 30 kilometers per hour. It can be used as an emergency rescue boat. So apart from the small size and easier to install equipment, should we use it as a checking for the cables? So while we are doing the shipment on the sea, for the small size boat, it is definitely going to be more flexible. But for the huge ship, with only if we are turning the wheels for 2 to 3 minutes, the ship is not going to change its positions, but the small lifeboat could be more stable or could be more flexible once we change the wheels. Today I would say the weather is good. And if you observe the sea surface, the waves are very peaceful. I would say that I've been boarded on this shipment for 3 days. I could also still feel that there is some of the feelings of the turnings of the ship. It usually turns me dizzy, so I am quite frightened as we are entered into this boat. I think Mr. Zhang has introduced to you and to our viewers that it is not going to be very tumbling in the process. And also, we have some of the benchmarkings floating on the surface. And while we are driving this lifeboat, we should definitely wave. So I cannot wait to see what is happening on the boat with so much seeing. So without further ado, we are going to carry our equipment, board on the lifeboat, and start our today's journey as a maintenance engineer. Before every time of the engineering work, we are going to start a security check. It is a very special work. We are going to follow the protocols of the equipment, as well as the protocols for operation. The captain, the pilot, is going to be co-deciding the future directions of the ship. And you should be board the boat voluntarily. If you don't want to board it, we are not going to force you according to the protocols. Apart from the maintenance work and replacement work, these are some of the equipment I would bring with the underwater work. I'm going to drive this boat and replace it. Usually, I equipped some of the equipment here. So although this is a very small boat, I think it's quite well equipped. Let's board.
直接这样过去就可以了，是吧？哎，好，好，谢谢，好，哎，注意安全啊。好的。现在上来，因为它是被这个挂在这儿，还是挺稳的，没啥事儿。
目前和大船的感觉是一样的，肯定。
It's actually hanging here, and the feelings are very similar if you just board this small boat. You see that there is a hanging machines where it is gradually going to laying down the ship. Why can't you feel any tumbles right now? It is because it has not started the lowering down of this boat. Dear viewers, we are already in the middle of this maintenance boat. This is the wheel room of the boat. So later on, we are going to have our pilot driving this small boat, and other different colleagues are ready at a different position to observe what is happening on the sea. What are they doing? Could you please introduce us? While we are doing our maintenance work, we need the captain to be making the decisions, taking control of the situation, as well as monitoring what has happened in the drive room. So here we have a very powerful equipment where we need to keep an eye on. This is a elastical bumper. So once we have entered into the water, since there is a huge weight with this lifeboat, there's going to be some of the anti-forces from the water. With this elastical bumper, it is going to buffer the forces from the seawater. On the second, we entered into the sea. We can sail freely on the sea. This is like a double security check. You have introduced us later on that we are going to place it here. After echoing from the captains of the lifeboat, we are going to start the journey today. All prepared. He is about to unleash the ropes. So let's carry the camera away because the moment that we are entered into the water, we are going to undertake a lot of buffering reactions. We are seeing the surface, and we are gradually putting this lifeboat down.
好，哎，现在我们是平稳的落水了，对不对？好，平稳的落在这个水面上了。
With a very safe landing on the water, but we are still experiencing some of the tumblings, leaving our shipments, leaving the ship. The small boat is sailing freely in the sea.
你看它现在往前走一点。
哎，等会儿经理，咱现在不是要去给那个缆来换水鸟，咱现在怎么这个航行的离这个缆越来越远？
So I have a question. So we should be replacing the water bird on the cables, right? While we are sailing against the boat, the ship.
所以咱每次这个检修作业的目的地虽然是这个船尾，但是我们先要往船头方向斜着先开，要绕行一下。
Yes, every time, although the maintenance work is being done at the tail part of the ship, but we still need to circle around the ship. You have given me some of the precautions that today there's going to be a huge wave and the camera's footage on the boat might not be very acceptable, but I think it works quite well here. I did not imagine such a peaceful cameras. The moment that we fell into the water, it might be very difficult. But I don't think there's too much troubling today as I expected. Everything went quite good today. Apart from the typhoons and other different incidents, this should be a very good weather that we should all celebrate and enjoy.
您看，现在我们这个坐在小艇上，真的是感觉离这个水面特
With the
别
four
的近
colleagues
了。
sitting on
然
the
后这个浪花
lifeboat,
不停的这个拍打
we
着我们
could
这个
see
小
that
艇
the waves are slapping on the surface of this boat.
我们看到这个
The sea is right in front of us,
孔的，刚刚这个一个浪
something that we can never imagine on the huge ship. And we need to leave the holes, because for each one of the ship, they should prepare some of the holes like this. Otherwise, if the waves hitting the ship with a huge force, the water is never going to falling down.
早了，现在我怎么感觉又晃的还挺厉害的？
I could feel the trembling right now.
这是为啥呀？
So what happened? This is because after surpassing the two pillars, we are entered into the officially sailing areas of the ship. Are we turning around? Yes. The wave is quite high.
新手初上
As
船
one
体
of
验
the
的这个
new joiners of this
就
boat,
感觉站都很困
I
难，
feel
但是
it
我们的
was
工作
very
人员们
difficult
要
for us
在
to
这样的这个
standing
状态
on
下去
this boat.
换设备
But
检
our
修真的是太
engineers
痛苦了
are standing on this boat and also replacing all kinds of equipment as well as adjusting
网
the
友们，不知道
data.
通过这个画面你能不能感受到我
I
们
don't know
现在
whether
其
the
实
viewers can have a feeling toward what they are doing through this camera footage. But I am here right now, closely and clearly have a better understanding of what they are doing every day.
看现在这个裤腿儿都已经被咱涌上的这个浪打湿了。
And I would say all of our trousers has been wetted by the sea wave. Another part is that the top wind and also the top wave. And while we are just arriving on the sea surface, we are at the same directions with the wind and also the wave. But right now, we are at the lateral directions compared with the directions of wind and wave. That's the reason why we could feel the turbulence very fiercely right now. Sliding on the surface of the water, the principle works both the same for huge-sized shipment as well as the small-sized boat. It's very difficult for us to have a grasp about the wave and the sea. So while we are finishing these missions, as we are entered into the areas for the replacement of the water bird, we are going to have a better closer look here. We cannot position the water bird as well as the cables because we are still on the route to the replacement of the water bird. Let me give you a brief introduction toward the boat. What kind of equipment and what kind of functions could the boat play in the boat here? I've been introducing you the driving cabin.
航着机器注意安全哈！来，好，我们让摄像老师这个往里走走。
I'm going to invite our cameraman to be a part of the driving room.
看来这个小艇上确实
I would say that for this
比
small
我
boat,
想象的
There is far more room than I imagined, and the work here is also more difficult and harder for me to conduct. For me today, this is a quite good weather. I would say that apart from me, everybody was quite calm and peaceful here. Could you please introduce us some of the equipment on this boat? Although this is a very small-sized boat, we equipped with all kinds of the equipment here. So here we have two steps: the radars, the ECGs, and you could see the small screens. Here we have some of the camera data as well as the radar data. We are going to have a better understanding of what is on the top of the surface of the sea as well as under the deep sea. So here we have the two wheels attached to the window. It's just like the two wheels on our vehicles, helping you to recognize the different directions on the road, and also helping us to understand the different directions on the sea. This is the rain wiper in the sea. The rain wiper here in the sea works under different principles with the rain wipers on the vehicle. You could also see some of the buttons on top of the shipment. There are some of the lights. We are approaching the destination, and we are going to feel more waves from the sea. Please turn around. We are already entered into the areas for the designated work. We should wrap up and also turn around. Once we have turned around, we are going to follow the same directions with the ship and start our work. Now we are going to officially enter into the working process. I would see that all the tumbles are actually happening here. I don't know what is going on in the footage. There are some of the difficulties here. So I would see all the staffs is right now in their own position. Are we going to replace them? First and foremost, we need to locate the water bird. I could also see the water bird in the sea. And this part, you could also see our cables on the surface of the river. And you will see the water bird equipment is just right in front of us. As we are becoming closer and closer to the cables, we could see some of the floating signals. This is some of these defaulted water bird that we should replace. Right now, we are going to placing down the hydraulic replacement arm. And with the hydraulic replacement arm, we are going to exchange the water bird automatically. So we have this plate helping us to go into 1 meter deep down in the water. You could see our operators is actually placing it under the water. Since the cable is still working on the surface of the water, they cannot floating as high as we imagined. We have just landed some of the cables, and our drivers is going to start to approach the cables. I think we are closing to the cables once we have clashes with the cables. And also we are going to cut them up. Yes, we have successfully carried the cables up. The cables on the surface of the water has finally re-emerged. Now we are going to follow the cable, reaching the water bird, the position of the defaulted water bird. We need to catch up the defaulted water bird, otherwise its tails is going to be approaching this cable. I see a lot of our colleagues is going to grab them on 1 second. Once we grab them, we need to detach them from the cable. Put it here, in a relatively very safe position. And then we unsolve the cables. At the same time, at the same speed. So why it is very difficult for us to do the work during the huge waves? You can see all of our engineers is still riding the waves. It's very difficult for us to open this water bird while we are still on the deck, but here on the waves, with the waves ups and down, quite difficult for us to get one and replace one. This is one of the easier work to do. So now we are going to prepare a new water bed to be installed on the surface of the cables. Actually, these are the one water bird with no questions and issues, and we have already tested on the ship deck. And there are some of the protection lines. So we have already replaced it. And we are going to give it a test run. It is going to be safer as we are using the cables in the future. So I believe with the witness of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we already finished the process. Today is a very smooth journey. Is it because all of our engineers and maintenance colleagues have a quite familiar understanding with the seizing environment? Then they have understanding toward these technologies. They have done it several times per day. And for one time, they could even replace several dozens of the water bird. They are becoming more and more mature and veteran and professional in this industry. For all of us, we have some of the staff who is working for 20 and 30 years. The operations for us to get board on this boat and then replacing the water bird is something beyond my imagination. Once we pull down the cables, we finish the mission today. The new equipment we replaced has been successfully already tested. Today, I think that we finished our major missions. Yes. Let's take a break. Could you see us and see where we are? I did not do anything before, but I just watched. But I could still feel the difficulties on the surface of the water. All of these, my boots and also his shoes, has been wetted down deeply, and gradually the water came. And I think that our cameraman is the most difficult person on the boat. On one side, he needs to carry the cameras, and this is the true feelings for all of us. It has given us a very immersive understanding of the replacement and maintenance work of the water bird. In the deep sea, any exchanges of the equipment is such an exciting and nerve-wracking experience. If the wave comes at you at 5 to 4 times each time, and also if you replace the water bird 4 to 5 times, you are going to throw up. I think that when the boat turns around, I feel that I am about to throw up. But gradually, I am getting used to the environment. Let's head toward the next destination. So we finished the work of the replacement of the water bird. And we are also going to go to the submersive areas and also changing the pumps as well as doing some of the maintenance works.
浮鱼啊、尾标啊，还有我们的那些枪阵和扩展器的一个情况。
Before I boarded on the ship, you already told me that they are following a planned route. So what is going to be the difference of the route planned and unplanned? Does it affect the ships? Or are there any techniques that we can avoid the direct confrontations with the waves? You are going to see on the surface of the seas there are some of the white points. This is indicating a small-scale wave, but for some of the huge-scale waves, you will see that they are forming one line.
对，现在这次是主要是浪涌比较小，看不出来是吧？对。
Today we are only seeing several different waves. But how could we avoid the direct confrontations with the waves? So how can we move into the directions? I don't know whether you can feel it or not, but you can still feel the rhythms and patterns as you are on this boat. After 3 huge waves, there's usually 1 lake once, and then 3 huge waves, and then 1 lake once. The pattern repeats itself. If you are going to hit the waves, the surface is going to be stable. So although I'm actually riding the waves on this small boat, I think the captains and also they are not only going to observe what is happening on the seas, they can also grab the patterns with the waves and bringing more information to the personnel on the ship.
对，有时候躲来不及的话，它是会侧浪，会上浪。
Sometimes, if we cannot, if there's a very direct confrontations, the waves and the water is going to be flapping on your face. As the amateurs, this is my first experience on a boat. I have gained a lot of life-saving techniques. So what is going to be the life-saving techniques as I am boarding the boat? You should never bend down your head. You should always look to the remote distance. And you should always look at the forefront. And also, when the wind from the sea hits your chest, it's always going to refresh you. We are at an area which is above 3,000 meters. Previously, we are on a very huge boat. I would say that at that time, on the huge ship, the wave was very flattened, and I enjoy a quite normal life here. But the close sea operations is still very hard for me, and this is a very unique experience for me. I would say that this is the experience for you, but this is the day-to-day work for all of us.
还有5、6分钟，5、6分钟就到了，越来越近了。请摄像老师把镜头我们对准船头，我们也让我们这个最辛苦的摄像老师也看看远处。前面咱们现在就是正前方就是咱们。We
are heading towards and back to our ship. You could see the white ships.
要是我们跑到尾巴的话，我们看不见大船，有时候特别浪大的时候。
Sometimes, if the waves is very huge, we might not be able to see our ship. We need to rely on the navigation service. This is a very unique geographical positioning system equipped on our boats. Through these equipments, our ship is going to understand where we are and how could they conduct some of the rescue work. They are going to protect us and safeguard us all the way through.
跟我们说的说让我别担心哈，除了我们身上穿戴的这种安全设备之外呢，还有护航船跟我们守候，就是靠着它跟它保持联系的哈。
对，这个是一个定位。
This is a positioning system.
雷达上也可以显示。马上要到咱们的那个浮鱼和头标，还有咱们的那个桥正那一块了。
We are approaching the floating bars.
从换完水鸟开始，我觉得我已经不知道被多少个浪。
After the replacement of the water bird, I don't know how many waves has hit me before, and also our camera is being wetted by it.
不知道网友们现在看得清楚。
I don't know whether you could see it clearly or not.
又是一个大浪，哎呀！我们现在
还有够
200 meters away
就到咱们的。
to approaching the maintenance, the checkpoints.
你怎么这么淡定？我感觉我都快睁不开眼了。我给自己擦擦。这个，哎呀。
I could hardly open up my eyes.
下来的时候忘记提醒您了，我们可能习惯了，其实应该让你们多抹一点防晒霜，特别是这个
And we might be used to this suns, and we actually need you to put on more sunscreens with the reflections of the sunlight. Sometimes there might be some of the sunburns on the surface of your face. It's actually, for me, it's okay. I'm only here with 1 hour to have an experience on the surface of the sea's operations, but our engineers works all the time on the sea. They have sacrificed themselves for the benefit of our nation. They are hoping to explore more of the natural resources from under the water. It's nothing for all of us. So we are those of the friends who have ride the waves together, I would say, after today. For those of us who's working on the seas, definitely it is one of the hard work, but in the recent several years, facing the crisis of the security, the energy securities, we are always very determined to carry on this work because we have shouldered a very heavy responsibilities to safeguard the national energy security. With so many different shipments on the sea. For us, we are getting used to it. No matter the New Year's Eve or the national celebration days, we are always here to safeguard the peace of the seas. We take the ships with the different colleagues. We are approaching the yellow bars, which is floating on the surface of the waves. Let's have a check about the floating bars. Usually these floating bars or the fish marks can be positioned to the rocks, but it is very easy for them to wrap around some of this waste from the water. Today we have a very good weather. I think all of us is positioned here.
之前一直是在这个大的乌滩船上去看这些水下设备，当时比较远，都看得不是很清楚。我觉得今天我们有这个机会，
quite blessed with the opportunities to see this deep sea equipment.
这个头标你看像小船一样的这个，上面还有个定位标。
This is what we call the high bars. It looks like small-sized ship with the GPS positionings on the sea, on the surface. the cables below carries it. Currently, I would say there is no problems with these floating bars. It's still riding the waves like a small fish on the surface, on the sea surface.
对，它下面有2个尾鳍，它就这个东西一直能保持浮力的。有时候啊，挂上东西把下面那尾鳍挂掉了以后，这个就翻过来了，哈哈，就横着了。
You would always see that this piece of equipment looks like a small fish riding on the sea, and behind it, it has 2 tails. And if there are some of the damage to the tail part of this equipment, the fish is going to be flopped upside down, and then we should replace the fishery-like equipment. There's another floating equipment on the surface of the seas. Let's have a look. This is what we call the floating fish. Could you see the difference between it? What do we use? What does we design this for? What do we use this bar for? There is 100 meters distance between the floating fish. These are guaranteeing the 100-meter surfaces. You will see that these floating fish operate more stably from the surface, from the external part. It is working quite normally. Let's look at the expanders. We have the floating bars and also we have replaced the floating bars and also double check the floating fish. And we are going to pass by the augmentation equipment during the journey back. Let's go back with the journey back. Let's go back. And we are always also turning around to have a double check at the augmentation equipment. It is much more stable now with less and less waves. I'm also getting used to it. Could you identify the bad side and the good side and the good and bad of this? I would say that after the whole replacement, it usually takes 1 hour if we want to finish it. If everything went very well, it usually takes 1 hour. It takes more times on the route than the work of the real maintenance. We are always spending the time on finding the equipment, more time on finding the equipment than replacing and doing the maintenance work. Let's give a flashback to what we do. This is actually relying on the actual practicalities of this work. So I would say that we are the best practices here. So why does the waves ride so high? It is because we are accelerating our speed. So that's the reason why it is rising with so many water flashes. The higher the water flash is, the higher our speed is. This is under the exaggeration speed. I think we taking this is like taking a rapid boat. So this is some of the rare occurrences we might never experience in the deep sea. This is my first time and my first experience with the equipment in China. And you are also going to some of the augmentation equipment on the left side. So what do you mean by the augmentation machines? What does it usually do? Usually, it integrates 10 cables into one and guaranteeing the normal operations of these cables. The waves are quite wide.
确实海上的这个状况瞬息万变。
Actually, the waves changes
只能
at
看
every
咱们只
second
能看
on
到这个
the
布袋戏
surface
这
of
个
the
上面的
sea.
这个浮体，也是看这个后面有没有挂网。挂上网的话，
We
它
will
这个水
always
滑的
double
这个不一样。
check
目前
the
在这个布袋戏啊，
augmentation equipments to see whether there are some of the fishery net
您这个
changes
真
on
的
the
是经
surface
验
of
很丰
it.
富，就像如您所说，咱可能
Every
每次
time
这个
while we are
巡检
tackling
大部
about
分
these
的这个
equipments,
可能时间都是在这个路上。哎，我们来下摄像机，还有
do we
纸
have
巾
any tissues
我们
to
请
wipe
工作
our
人员再给我们
camera?
对，一点纸巾。网友又被水糊住了。
For those who are following our live streaming today, you are going to see that all of these waters
我
are
们在擦
right on the
我觉得
surface
现
of
在
the
老
use.
师他已经全身
And
是透。
I could also see that our cameraman
现在应
is
该能看清
all
楚了。
soaked up.
那刚刚咱经理也是把这个我们最后的一个检查设备，这个
We have
功能
finished
器也给
the
看了。
maintenance and checking of the final
回
equipments.
到我
Back
们
to
刚刚
our
说那个话
topic.
题，就是这巡检这
So
个8
for
小
this
时，大部分
maintenance
时间都
work,
是在这个
if we
航行到
spend
每个
1 to
设备的这
2
个
hours
路
here
上，
on
这是比较
the
费时间的。但
maintenance
是真
work,
正
the
到了，然
majority
后
of the
其实
times is
有
going
经
to
验
be
的我们的这个
spending
人
on the
员，他可能
road.
就是通过目测这样看就能够看出
Those of the
是不是有问题。
experienced
对，
所以像今天我们也
ship
是很顺利的
engineers
计
and
划了水鸟
is
啊，
going
能够
to
把各种
have
设
a
备都
glimpse,
挨个儿这个
and
检修
then
了
they
一
are
遍。
going to
所
understand
以这
it.
次也任务也是比较顺利。
Yes,
对，今天
today is
最
the
算最
most
顺利的，天气也比较
today
好
we have had the most smooth journey.
我看是要往船的方向开了。
We are on our road
今天的
back.
所有任务都完成
We
了，
finish
我们
our
就
mission
回去
today.
了。
好，感谢
Thank you so much.
感谢
Thank
各
you
位
so
队
much
员
for all of
大家
our
辛苦
team
了。
members.
那现在呢，今天我们
And
也是
we
通过
through
咱们
the
这个
live
时段
streaming,
非常沉
we
浸
have
式的
give
体验
you
了一下在这个
first-hand
我们这个
experiences
深水3000米
about
的这
the
个海
deep
域
sea
区
water
给我们的这个
and
地
what
质
does
勘探
this
设备
means
去进
for
行
our
检修和维护。
geological
相信网友应该也是能够明显地感受
prospecting
到我们这
work
次的检修
or
工作
geological
其实还是
exploration
非
work.
常的不容
You
易，
could
但是
feel
我
the
们的
hardship
工作
of
人员
all of
还是
our
非常的乐观，
engineers
而且
today.
是
They are very
经验丰富。
optimistic.
那
They
今
are
天呢，我们的
facing
直
the
播到这里
seas
呢
every
也就
day.
告一
We
段
are
落
going
了。
to
我觉
wrap
得
up
它
today's
对我来
sessions
说也是
with a
非常
very
一次
unique
难得的这
experience,
个体验。
even for me.
那明天呢，我们的直
Tomorrow
播
we are going to
将会
carry on
继续去
this
关
live
注我
streaming
们这个
on the surface of the
对水
seas.
深3000米的地质进行检测。
Tomorrow
那明天啊，我们的这个勘探工
we are
作
going
会有
to
一个
achieve
阶
some
段
of the
性的成果
theoretical
了，
results,
将会
where
打
we are
印
going to
出
print it
我
out.
国首
The
张
first
深水3000米
3D
的地质宝藏图。
3,000
那明天直
meter
播咱们就
underwater
不见不散，请
map.
大家继续关注。
Please keep a close eye on our live streaming tomorrow. Thank you.